Alright, back as advertised with the TUF Finale card. Standard format. We're going to have most of the fighters from the show, although not all, participating in matches against each other. And we also, of course, have the big build match, which in this case is Clay Guida, Roger Huerta, and the finale between Mac Danzig, Tommy Spears. Or Spear, pardon me, no S. The exception to the rule of usual matchmaking is the fact that also on the card will be Canadian welterweight Jonathan Goulet taking on Paul Georgiev. This is because Blake Bowman, who it seems was originally thought to be Georgiev's opponent, has the torn ACL and cannot continue. Also lacking on the card will be Joey Scarola for obvious, reasons of Joey's a little bitch, basically. I don't like to disrespect a fighter like that, but in this instance, yeah, Joey's a bitch. Anyways, first up, we're going to have the aforementioned Paul Georgiev versus Jonathan Goulet, two pretty big welterweights, actually. Georgiev is 7-1. He's a ground specialist. Jonathan Goulet, 29-1. Jonathan's been in the UFC a couple times. He's what I like to call a fighter who, how should I put this, has a lot of great skills because he's a good stand-up fighter. He's a good ground fighter. He's a very good wrestler, and has a bad chin because he can be knocked out. Now this match kind of showcases his skills because Georgiev, primarily a ground fighter, not really a lot of stand-up to speak of. He does have good reach, but doesn't seem to really use it well. From what I've heard, and this is mainly from Blake Bowman on Sherdog, is he is about even with Bowman, and he's slightly better than Bowman in jiu-jitsu. And if I were to have broken down that match, he would have won against Bowman, but against Jonathan Goulet, coming off a disappointing submission loss to Dustin Hazlett, but the Road Warrior, which is a name that doesn't suit him because most of his big wins come at home in Quebec, but nonetheless, should pound out Paul Georgiev second round. Next up, we have Roman Michnian and Dorian Price, two guys that didn't get to show a lot on the show. Dorian was tapped out by Matt Arroyo. Michnian, of course, was injured. For those of you who don't know Roman Michnian, very tough guy, takes a lot of pain. Is a decent judoka. He's along the same lines of Carl Parisian or Manny Gambarian. He also has the same problem as they do in terms of his physical durability. Doesn't seem to be very good. He gets injured easily. The broken elbow. There's talks of a couple of other injuries he suffered. He's 8-1. Dorian Price is 8-2. The Sherdog reports Michnian's record being lower than that, but Sherdog is an independent thing. UFC should have a better idea, or the fighter's lying. Either way, taking Michnian in this one because Dorian, not terribly great ground game, and really no real takedown defense. He's training at Sarah's camp, so his ground game might be better, but I still don't think his takedowns are going to be much better. And Michnian is a solid judoka. He does have pretty good ground game. I think he taps out Dorian Price in the first round. Next up, we have Matt No Regard Arroyo versus John Colossi. Kind of ironic because Colossi, of course, replaced Arroyo in the semi-final four of the series. This is a tough fight to call because although Matt Arroyo is what I would call a better fighter, he's much better on the ground than John Colossi. His problem may come down to the fact that John's a bigger fighter. Arroyo's only a 155-pounder realistically. He's only 2-1. John is 8-4. And I think John, who will have superior reach, I think also will have the superior striking, could possibly keep this on the feet, even though Danzig took him down, so I don't know. If Danzig hadn't had such an easy time taking him down, I'd have no problem taking John Colossi in this one. And it's very unfortunate because I like John Colossi, classy guy. I don't really care for Matt Arroyo all that much. I'm going to take Matt Arroyo by submission in the second round. Troy Mandalona's Richie Hightower's next. This is a very amusing fight. Both these guys like to stand and bang. Neither really has much of a ground game to speak of. There's no real size difference in this one. That's the other thing that's nice, is these two guys are about the same size, and that's good to see because we have a couple of size mismatches like we talked about Colossi and Arroyo. How do I see this fight playing out? Honestly, it's whoever nails that power shot first. Neither of these guys are terribly I see Richie Hightower's nickname is the Dirty Samurai, and everyone knows Troy's is Rude Boy that. I guess this is the match of the dirty guys. Okay, where was it? Whoever nails that first power shot's probably gonna win this one, and I say that because both have decent chins. Neither is actually really that good of a striker. They're brawlers. I'm taking Mandalona's because he has more KO power, I think, than Richie Hightower, and he might slightly be a better striker. Just kind of what it boils down to. Neither's really has what I think it takes to finish the other on the ground. Taking Mandalona's second round stoppage via not necessarily a KO, but a KO or a TKO. Next, we have the rematch of Ben Saunders versus Dan Barrera. Well, here's what it boils down to. Dan Barrera, a lot of potential. Big guy, strong guy, decent boxer. Didn't look it in the fight though. Kind of froze up in the fight. If he comes to fight this time and he's ready and he's practiced and he knows what he's doing and has a good corner man, he can beat Ben Saunders. At the same time, I think Ben Saunders has all the skills and a proven mental game that he can beat Dan Barrera. The other question I think with Saunders is he seems to take a lot of damage in fights, and you got to worry about a referee or a doctor stoppage in this one. But I'm going to pick Ben Saunders with a second round TKO or submission, because I think he can submit Barrera very easily. Almost did even when he was like almost knocked out that in their first fight. He's got the reach advantage, of course. He's a little bigger. He's more experienced at 4-0-2, and Barrera's only 1-0. So I'm taking Ben Saunders. Next, we have Billy Miles 2-1 versus George Soteropoulos 7-2. Pretty easy one here. I think Soteropoulos better on the feet. Billy Miles might have a strength and wrestling advantage. That's possible, but from what I've seen in his fights, I'm not even just talking about the Colossi fight. I'm seeing he's still not a very good grappler. I think Soteropoulos could tap him on the ground or finish him standing. The more I look at this, the more I'm thinking Soteropoulos will probably take this one standing, because Billy Miles seems to like to strike, even though he's not very good at it. He seems to like to strike at the beginning, and he could pay for that against George Soteropoulos. We have Jared Rollins versus John Koppenheimer. Good fight, because both of these guys actually are decently well-rounded. They both can strike. They both have ground games. Rollins has a better ground game. Koppenheimer has a theoretically better striking game, although I think it's very close. I think in the end, I think Jared Rollins takes down Koppenheimer. Probably taps him out in the second round, because Jared's a very good grappler. Did not show well in the series end. All these predictions are kind of somewhat subject to the whole UFC jitters thing. Fighting in front of a big crowd, because aside from a guy like Danzig and perhaps Soteropoulos, these guys haven't, and of course Jonathan Goulet, these guys haven't fought in front of a crowd like this yet. So this is all kind of speculating that they handle the pressure well, all other things being equal. Tommy Spear, Mac Danzig. Had this happened on the show, I definitely would have taken Danzig, but Tommy Spear's training with Matt Hughes. Tommy Spear has everything you need to be a good fighter that can't be taught, and I think that's the key. That's the first battle for any fighter, is having those intangibles: mental toughness, the heart, a high pain threshold for him as well, a drive to go far and far. He seems to learn decently quick. I'm thinking Tommy Spear might take this one because he is bigger and stronger than Mac Danzig. He's a better wrestler than Mac Danzig. And it's not like the theoretical thing with John Colossi being a bigger guy. We thought he was better. John Colossi has no real wrestling credentials to his name. Tommy Spear is actually a good wrestler. Tommy could lay and pray this one. I think he decisions it. I don't think he finishes Mac Danzig. If Mac Danzig submits him or knocks him out, I will not be surprised at all, because I still think it comes down to Danzig's a better fighter, but it's not his weight class. He's a lightweight fighting in a welterweight. Tommy Spear is a big welterweight. Actually, really don't want to pick Spear, but I think the winner of this year may be Tommy Spear. Finally, we come to Clay Guida, Roger Huerta, two guys who have been giving completely different